The Laws of Personal Responsibility, written and published by Echo Elevate. Introduction. Everything in your life is the result of something, and that something is you, not your past, not your circumstances, not other people. This book begins with a simple truth. When you accept responsibility, your life begins to change. Most people search for answers outside themselves. They look for motivation. They wait for opportunity. They hope for better conditions. But progress does not start there. It starts with ownership. The laws of personal responsibility is not about blame. It is about power. It is about reclaiming control over your choices, your habits, and your direction. This book was written for those who are ready to stop drifting, for those who want clarity instead of confusion, for those who understand that growth is a decision, not an accident. As you listen, you will learn timeless principles, principles that shape character, principles that govern results, principles that separate wishful thinking from real progress. Each chapter will challenge familiar thinking, not to overwhelm you, but to sharpen you. You will discover why responsibility comes before motivation, why discipline builds freedom, and why every lasting change begins with personal standards. This audiobook is designed to be clear, direct, and practical. No complicated language, no distractions, only ideas meant to be understood, remembered, and applied. Listen with honesty. Listen with openness. And most of all, listen with ownership. Because once responsibility becomes a habit, your future is no longer a mystery. It becomes a choice. Chapter 1. Responsibility is the starting point. Every meaningful change begins at the same place. It does not begin with luck. It does not begin with opportunity. It begins with responsibility. Before skills are developed, before goals are achieved, before success takes shape, there is a moment of ownership. This chapter is about that moment. Responsibility is the foundation of progress. Without it, effort becomes scattered. With it, direction becomes clear. Many people want improvement without ownership. They want better results without better decisions. They want change without discomfort. That path does not work. Responsibility is not a burden. It is a position of strength. It is the point where excuses lose power and choices gain meaning. When a person accepts responsibility, something important happens. They stop waiting. They stop blaming. They start acting. Consider a simple example. Two people work in the same company. They have the same role. They face the same challenges. One complains about management. The other asks how to improve performance. One waits for recognition. The other builds value. Over time, their paths separate. The difference is not intelligence. It is not talent. It is responsibility. The first person gives control away. The second person takes it back. Responsibility is the decision to say this: my life is my responsibility. That sentence changes everything. It does not mean life is fair. It does not mean obstacles disappear. It means you stop allowing conditions to decide your future. This is where many people misunderstand responsibility. They think it means self-criticism. They think it means guilt. They think it means pressure. It does not. True responsibility is calm. It is clear. It is honest. It says this: this is where I am, and this is what I will do next. Nothing more, nothing less. When responsibility becomes the starting point, progress becomes possible. Think about physical health. Two people receive the same medical advice. One says they have bad genetics. The other adjusts habits. Over time, one condition worsens. The other improves. Responsibility does not guarantee outcomes, but it always improves odds. The same is true in finances, in relationships, in personal growth. People who accept responsibility ask better questions. What can I learn? What can I change? What can I do today? These questions lead to action. People who avoid responsibility ask different questions. Why me? Who is at fault? When will things improve? These questions lead to delay. Responsibility shifts attention from the past to the present, from blame to behavior, from reaction to intention. This is why responsibility is the starting point. It is the first step that cannot be skipped. No system works without it. No habit lasts without it. No goal survives without it. You cannot build confidence without responsibility. Confidence is earned through follow-through. You cannot build trust without responsibility. Trust is built through consistency. You cannot build freedom without responsibility. Freedom grows from discipline. There is a story that illustrates this clearly. A small business owner struggled for years. Sales were low. Stress was high. He blamed the market. He blamed competition. He blamed timing. One day nothing changed externally, but something changed internally. He stopped blaming. He took responsibility for pricing, for service, for personal leadership. The business did not change overnight, but the direction did. 6 months later, results followed. Responsibility did not create instant success. It created momentum. That is the real power of responsibility. It creates movement. Once movement begins, learning accelerates, skills sharpen, confidence grows. Responsibility also brings clarity. When you accept responsibility, decisions become simpler. You stop asking what feels easy. You start asking what works. This clarity reduces noise. It reduces distraction. It reduces regret. Responsibility does not remove difficulty. It removes confusion. This chapter is not asking you to carry everything alone. It is asking you to carry what is yours. Your actions, your choices, your standards. Not the actions of others, not the past, not the future, only what you can influence. This is where strength lives. As you move through this book, remember this principle. Nothing improves before responsibility is accepted. Everything improves after it is practiced. Responsibility is not the finish line. It is the starting point. And once you step into it, you step into the driver's seat of your life. Chapter 2. You are always choosing. Every moment carries a decision, even when you think you are standing still. Even when you believe nothing is happening, you are always choosing. Choice does not pause. It does not wait for confidence. It does not require permission. It operates quietly in the background of daily life. What you focus on is a choice. What you avoid is a choice. What you tolerate is a choice. Many people believe choice only appears during big moments. A career move, a relationship decision, a financial risk. But those moments are built from smaller ones, moments that seem ordinary, moments that feel automatic. This is where responsibility deepens. A person who understands choice stops saying this, "I had no option," because there is always an option. There is action or inaction. There is honesty or silence. There is effort or excuse. Inaction is not neutral. It is a decision with a direction. Consider a simple morning. You wake up tired. You choose to hit the alarm again, or you choose to get up. You choose to check your phone, or you choose to breathe and focus. These choices feel small, but they shape rhythm. Rhythm shapes habits. Habits shape identity. This is how lives are formed. Many people live by default. They repeat patterns without questioning them. They call this routine. Routine is not bad. Unexamined routine is when you stop choosing consciously, you begin choosing unconsciously, and unconscious choices rarely lead where you want to go. Choice is power, but only when it is recognized. A person who feels stuck often says this, "I do not know what to do." What they often mean is this, "I do not like my options." Discomfort does not remove choice. It reveals it. You may not choose the situation, but you choose your response. You may not control timing, but you control effort. You may not change others, but you can change behavior. Responsibility begins when you accept this truth. You are not powerless. You are choosing. There is a story that illustrates this clearly. A man stayed in a job he disliked for years. He complained daily. He felt trapped. When asked why he stayed, he said this: "I have no choice." But he did have choices. He could learn new skills. He could search quietly. He could adjust expenses. None of these were easy, but all were choices. When he accepted that he was choosing comfort over growth, his thinking changed. He stopped complaining. He started preparing. Months later, his situation changed. Not because luck arrived, but because choice became conscious. Choice becomes powerful when paired with honesty. Ask yourself simple questions. What am I choosing right now? What am I avoiding? What pattern am I repeating? These questions do not judge. They clarify. Responsibility does not demand perfection. It demands awareness. When you become aware of choice, you reclaim direction. This is especially important in emotional moments. When you feel frustrated, you choose how long it lasts. When you feel disappointed, you choose the lesson or the excuse. Emotions are real. They are not commands. Choice sits above emotion, not against it. A responsible person feels emotion fully, then chooses wisely. This chapter is not about pressure. It is about presence. Presence allows pause. Pause allows choice. Most regret comes from unconscious choice, not bad intention. When you slow down enough to notice choice, you reduce regret. You also increase confidence. Confidence does not come from certainty. It comes from deciding. Each time you choose deliberately, you strengthen self-trust. That trust compounds. This is why responsibility and choice are inseparable. Responsibility accepts authorship. Choice writes the story. You do not need perfect options. You need ownership of the options you have. As you continue listening, remember this: your life is shaped less by what happens, and more by what you choose in response. You are always choosing. The question is whether you are choosing consciously. And once you do, your path becomes intentional instead of accidental. Chapter 3. Ownership creates freedom. Freedom is often misunderstood. Many people believe freedom comes from having fewer responsibilities. They think freedom means less obligation and fewer limits. The truth is very different. Freedom is created by ownership. The more responsibility you accept, the more control you gain. The more control you gain, the freedom you become. Ownership is the decision to stop handing your power away. When people avoid ownership, they often say this: "I cannot do anything about it. This is just how things are. That is not my fault." These statements feel relieving in the moment, but they quietly create confinement. Blame feels light at first, but it always leads to limitation. Ownership may feel heavy at first, but it always leads to freedom. When you own something, you can change it. When you blame something, you are stuck with it. This is the law. Consider a familiar situation. A person feels stressed every day at work. They say the job is the problem. They say the environment is the problem. They say the people are the problem. Years pass. Nothing improves. Why? Because ownership was never accepted. The moment that person says this, "I am responsible for how I respond, how I prepare, and how I grow," options appear. They can improve skills. They can communicate better. They can plan an exit. Ownership does not guarantee ease. It guarantees options, and options are freedom. Many people fear ownership because they confuse it with self-blame. These are not the same. Blame looks backward. Ownership looks forward. Blame says, "This is all my fault." Ownership says, "This is my move." Ownership is not about judging the past. It is about directing the future. When you own your actions, you regain authority over them. Think about health. A person who says my health is out of my hands feels helpless. A person who says my health responds to my habits feels empowered. The circumstances may be similar, but the internal position is different. One position creates frustration, the other creates freedom. Ownership removes confusion. When you stop blaming, your thinking becomes clear. You no longer waste energy searching for someone to fault. You begin searching for solutions. This shift is subtle, but it is powerful. Freedom does not come from controlling everything. It comes from controlling what you can. Ownership draws that line clearly. Here is a simple truth. You cannot change what you do not own. This applies to behavior, to mindset, to results. If your finances feel unstable, ownership asks this. What habits are driving this? If relationships feel strained, ownership asks this. How am I showing up? If progress feels slow, ownership asks this. Where am I inconsistent? These questions are not harsh. They are freeing. They give you something to work with. There is a story that illustrates this well. A woman struggled with confidence for years. She blamed past experiences. She blamed others who had doubted her. Those experiences were real. The pain was real. But change only began when she accepted this. My confidence is my responsibility now. She started small. She kept promises to herself. She prepared more carefully. She stopped seeking permission to believe in herself. So over time, confidence grew. Ownership did not erase the past. It released her from it. This is the quiet freedom ownership creates. Ownership also strengthens character. When you own your word, trust grows. So when you own your time, focus grows. So when you own your effort, pride grows. So when you own your effort, pride grows. Freedom without integrity is fragile. It depends on conditions. Freedom with ownership is stable. It depends on character. This is why disciplined people often feel freer than undisciplined ones. So when you own your time, it becomes disciplined people. They choose when to rest. So when you own your time, impulse promises freedom, but it creates chains. Ownership may feel restrictive at first, but it creates long-term space. Space to think, space to choose, space to grow. This chapter is not asking you to control the uncontrollable. It is asking you to own what belongs to you. Your preparation, your reactions, your standards. When ownership becomes a habit, fear loses influence. You stop fearing outcomes because you trust your response. That trust is freedom. As you continue through this book, remember this principle. So when you own the freer you become. Ownership is not the enemy of freedom. It is the path to it. So when fought. And once you step onto that path, you no longer wait to be free. You build it. Chapter 4. Results never lie. Results tell the truth. They do not argue. They do not explain. They simply reveal. You can debate intentions. You can justify effort. You can describe obstacles. But results remain unchanged. This is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to ground you. Results are feedback. They show what is working and what is not. Many people focus on what they meant to do. They focus on what they planned. They focus on what they hoped would happen. Life responds to action, not intention. This is why results matter. Results expose patterns. They reveal habits. They reflect standards. If results are weak, something upstream needs adjustment. Avoiding this truth delays growth. Facing it accelerates progress. Consider physical fitness. A person may believe they eat well. They may believe they exercise enough. But their energy level tells another story. The body does not respond to belief. It responds to behavior. The same applies to income, to relationships, to personal development. Results are neutral. They are not personal attacks. They are signals. A responsible person learns to read them. Many people avoid results because they feel uncomfortable. They prefer stories over facts. They prefer explanations over evaluation. This is understandable, but it is costly. When you avoid results, you avoid correction, and without correction, repetition continues. This chapter is about learning to respect results. Respect does not mean judgment. It means attention. When you look honestly at outcomes, you gain clarity. Clarity brings choice. Choice brings change. Here is a common pattern. Someone says they want better results, but they do not want to examine behavior. They change goals. They change plans. They change promises, but they do not change habits. Results remain the same. This is not failure, it is instruction. Results are asking a question. Will you adjust? Progress begins when the answer becomes yes. There is a story that illustrates this well. A sales manager struggled with performance. Targets were missed repeatedly. He blamed market conditions. He blamed team motivation. He blamed timing. Eventually he reviewed the numbers carefully, not emotionally, not defensively. He noticed patterns. Follow-ups were inconsistent. Preparation was rushed. Feedback was delayed. He changed behavior before changing goals. The next quarter improved. The market did not change. The process did. Results did not lie. They guided. This is the role of results in a responsible life. They remove guessing. They replace opinion with evidence. Results also protect you from self-deception. It is easy to believe you are disciplined. Until results show inconsistency, it is easy to believe you are focused. Until results show distraction. This is not something to fear. It is something to use. Results are allies when treated correctly. They tell you where to focus next. They show you what deserves attention. They prevent wasted effort. Another important truth is this: short-term effort does not always produce immediate results, but long-term behavior always does. This is where patience meets responsibility. You must give results time to appear, but you must also be honest about direction. If effort is applied correctly, results eventually follow. If effort is misdirected, results expose it. This helps prevent burnout. Many people exhaust themselves doing the wrong things. Results help you stop. They ask this simple question: is this working? If the answer is no, adjust. Not emotionally, practically. Responsible people separate identity from outcome. A poor result does not mean you are poor. It means something needs refinement. This mindset allows growth without shame. Shame shuts learning down. Curiosity opens it up. When you look at results with curiosity, you become effective. This chapter is not about harsh evaluation. It is about honest measurement. Measure behavior. Measure consistency. Measure follow-through. Not to criticize, but to improve. Here is a practical approach. At the end of each week, ask 3 questions. What did I do consistently? What did I avoid? What result did this produce? Keep it simple. Keep it honest. Over time, patterns emerge. Patterns reveal leverage points. Leverage points create change. Results also build confidence when aligned. When effort and outcome match, trust grows. You trust your process. You trust your discipline. You trust yourself. This trust is earned, not imagined, and it is deeply stabilizing. As you move forward, remember this law. Results are not opinions. They are reflections. They show you where you are standing, so you can decide where to step next. Results never lie, and when you learn to listen to them, they lead you forward with clarity and strength. Chapter 5. Responsibility before motivation. Many people wait to feel ready before they act. They wait for motivation to arrive. They wait for energy. They wait for confidence. This waiting creates delay. Motivation is unpredictable. Responsibility is reliable. This chapter addresses a common misunderstanding. People believe motivation creates action. In reality, action often creates motivation. Responsibility comes first. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. It responds to mood and circumstance. Responsibility is a decision. It does not depend on feeling good. It depends on commitment. When responsibility leads, progress becomes consistent. Think about how many plans fail because motivation fades. The intention was sincere, the desire was real, but the feeling did not last. This is not weakness, it is human nature. Relying on motivation alone places your future in the hands of emotion. Responsibility places it in your hands. Consider a simple example. A person decides to improve their health. They feel inspired for a few days. They eat better. They exercise. Then motivation drops. Life gets busy. Energy fades. Without responsibility, habits stop. With responsibility, habits continue. Responsibility says this: I do this whether I feel like it or not. This statement changes everything. It removes negotiation. Negotiation invites excuses. Responsibility closes the discussion. This does not mean forcing yourself harshly. It means honoring commitments calmly. Motivation often follows responsibility, like a shadow, but it rarely leads. When you act responsibly, you build momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence fuels motivation. The order matters. Responsibility first. Motivation second. Many successful people understand this instinctively. They do not wait to feel inspired. They create structure. Structure reduces resistance. A responsible routine removes daily decision fatigue. You do not debate whether to act. You simply act. This conserves energy. This is why discipline feels freeing over time. There is a story that illustrates this clearly. A writer wanted to publish a book. He waited for inspiration. Weeks passed, months passed. Nothing was written. Eventually he changed approach. He committed to writing 1 page every day. No matter how he felt, some days were slow, some days were strong. The pages accumulated. Motivation arrived later, but responsibility created the work. The book was finished because responsibility showed up daily. Motivation is a reward, not a requirement. Another important truth is this: responsibility creates identity. Each time you act responsibly, you reinforce who you believe you are. You begin to see yourself as reliable, as consistent, as capable. This identity shift is powerful. Motivation alone cannot create identity. Responsibility does. When you keep promises to yourself, self-trust grows. Self-trust reduces hesitation. Hesitation is often mistaken for lack of motivation. In reality, it is lack of trust. Responsibility repairs this. Many people say they lack motivation. What they often lack is clarity. Responsibility clarifies priorities. When something is truly your responsibility, it gets done. Children do not wait for motivation to go to school. Employees do not wait for motivation to attend work. Responsibility creates structure that supports action. You already understand this principle in some areas of life. This chapter invites you to apply it deliberately. Responsibility also protects you during difficult seasons. There will be days when energy is low, days when progress feels slow, days when results are invisible. Motivation disappears easily during these times. Responsibility remains. It carries you forward when emotion cannot. This is not about ignoring rest. It is about distinguishing rest from avoidance. Responsible people rest intentionally. They do not drift unconsciously. Rest supports responsibility. Avoidance undermines it. Another common mistake is chasing motivation through consumption. Watching videos, reading quotes, waiting for a spark. These can help briefly, but they do not replace action. Action is the most reliable source of motivation. Do the work. Then let the feeling catch up. This chapter challenges you to shift language. Replace this phrase, "I will do it when I feel motivated," with this one, "I will do it because it is my responsibility." This does not remove joy. It creates pride. Pride grows when effort is consistent. Over time, responsibility simplifies life. Fewer debates, fewer excuses, fewer false starts, more follow-through, more progress, more stability. Responsibility does not ask how you feel. It asks what matters, and what matters deserves action. As you continue through this book, remember this law: motivation is helpful, but it is not dependable. Responsibility is dependable. When responsibility leads, motivation follows. And when motivation fades, responsibility carries you forward. That is how progress becomes permanent. Chapter 6. The Cost of Avoidance. Avoidance feels light in the moment. It feels like relief. It feels like rest. But avoidance always sends a bill, and that bill comes later, with interest. This chapter is about the hidden cost of putting things off, the cost most people do not calculate, the cost that quietly compounds. Avoidance is not inactivity. It is a decision. When you avoid a task, you choose delay. When you avoid a conversation, you choose tension. When you avoid responsibility, you choose accumulation. Nothing disappears through avoidance. It only waits. Many people confuse avoidance with peace. They think ignoring a problem reduces stress. In reality, it relocates stress. It moves stress from action to anticipation. Anticipation is heavier. A task you avoid occupies mental space. It drains energy without producing progress. You think about it repeatedly. You rehearse excuses. You feel pressure without relief. Action ends tension. Avoidance extends it. Consider a simple example. A bill arrives. You do not open it. You feel brief relief. Days pass. The thought returns. Weeks pass. The tension grows. The cost increases. The problem did not grow because of complexity. It grew because of delay. This pattern appears everywhere. A health symptom is ignored. A skill gap is postponed. A difficult conversation is delayed. Each delay feels manageable. Together they become overwhelming. Avoidance creates weight. Responsibility removes it. One of the greatest costs of avoidance is erosion of self-trust. Each time you avoid something you know matters, you send yourself a message: "I do not follow through." That message weakens confidence. Confidence is not built through bold thoughts. It is built through completed actions. Avoidance chips away at identity. Over time, you stop trusting yourself to act. This creates hesitation. Hesitation leads to more avoidance. The cycle continues. Avoidance also distorts perception. Small tasks begin to feel large. Simple conversations feel threatening. Manageable responsibilities feel unbearable. This distortion is not reality. It is accumulated delay. The longer you avoid something, the larger it feels. Action shrinks problems. Avoidance inflates them. There is a story that illustrates this clearly. A manager needed to address a performance issue with an employee. He avoided the conversation for months. He feared conflict. He feared discomfort. During that time, resentment grew. Team morale declined. Stress increased. When the conversation finally happened, it was calm. It was productive. It took less than 30 minutes. The problem was never the conversation. It was the avoidance. Avoidance had multiplied the cost. This happens in personal life as well. Unspoken expectations strain relationships. Unaddressed habits damage health. Unmade decisions limit progress. Avoidance never preserves comfort. It sacrifices peace for temporary ease. Another hidden cost of avoidance is lost momentum. Momentum requires movement. Avoidance stops movement. When momentum stops, restarting feels harder. This is why starting again often feels heavier than continuing. Avoidance breaks rhythm. Responsibility restores it. Avoidance also teaches the mind to seek escape. You learn to distract instead of act. You scroll instead of focus. You delay instead of decide. This weakens attention. Attention is one of your most valuable assets. When avoidance dominates, attention fragments. Fragmented attention reduces effectiveness. Reduced effectiveness increases frustration. Frustration feeds more avoidance. This is how small delays turn into chronic stagnation. Avoidance also costs opportunity. While you delay, time moves. Opportunities do not wait for comfort. They respond to readiness. Readiness is built through action. When you avoid responsibility, you reduce readiness. This does not mean acting recklessly. It means acting intentionally. Responsibility does not rush. It proceeds. Another important truth is this. Avoidance often disguises itself as preparation. You research, you plan, you wait for the right moment. Preparation is valuable. Endless preparation is avoidance. The difference is movement. Preparation that leads to action is progress. Preparation that replaces action is delay. Responsible people recognize this line. They prepare enough to proceed. Then they act. Avoidance often feels protective, but it weakens resilience. Each avoided challenge reduces tolerance for discomfort. Each faced challenge increases it. Resilience grows through exposure, not escape. This is why responsible action builds confidence over time. You learn this truth through experience. Most things you avoid are less painful than imagined. Most things you face are more manageable than expected. The mind exaggerates difficulty in the absence of action. Action corrects perception. This chapter is not asking you to confront everything at once. That would be overwhelming. It is asking you to stop avoiding what you already know matters. Start small, but start. Make the call. Open the message. Take the first step. Small acts of responsibility dissolve large clouds of stress. Each completed action releases energy. Energy creates momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence reduces avoidance. This is the upward cycle. Avoidance creates cost. Responsibility creates relief. As you continue through this book, remember this law. What you avoid today will demand attention tomorrow. But when you act now, you reclaim time, energy. Avoidance delays life. Responsibility lets it move forward. Chapter 7. Your standards shape your life. Every life operates by a set of standards. Some are chosen, some are accepted. Whether you are aware of them or not, your standards shape your results. A standard is what you allow. It is what you tolerate. It is what you accept as normal. Standards speak louder than goals. Many people set goals they admire, but they live by standards they tolerate. This creates frustration. Goals describe where you want to go. Standards determine how you live today. If standards are low, goals remain distant. This chapter is about raising the level of what you accept. Standards are not about perfection. They are about consistency. A person with high standards does not do everything. They do important things well. A person with low standards often does many things, but completes few with care. Standards guide behavior when no one is watching. They determine how you speak to yourself, how you manage time, how you respond to pressure. This is why standards shape identity. Consider a simple example. Two people arrive at work late. One shrugs and laughs. The other feels unsettled. The difference is not the clock. It is the standard. One accepts lateness. The other does not. Over time, these small differences compound. Standards do not change life overnight. They change it quietly. What you tolerate becomes routine. What becomes routine becomes character. This is why standards matter. Many people confuse standards with rules. Rules are external. Standards are internal. Rules require enforcement. Standards guide behavior naturally. When standards are internal, discipline feels lighter. You do not argue with yourself as often. You already know what is acceptable. Standards also protect energy. When you tolerate clutter, chaos grows. When you tolerate excuses, progress slows. When you tolerate disrespect, confidence erodes. Raising standards removes friction. It simplifies decisions. A higher standard answers questions quickly. Is this acceptable? Does this align? If the answer is no, the decision is made. This clarity reduces stress. There is a story that illustrates this well. A man struggled with productivity. He tried new tools. He tried new schedules. Nothing lasted. Eventually he raised one standard. He decided that unfinished tasks were unacceptable. Not many tasks. Just a few, but completed. His behavior changed. He planned less. He finished more. Productivity improved because standards changed. Standards influence self-respect. When you meet your own standards, you trust yourself. When you repeatedly break them, self-respect weakens. This is why lowering standards feels comfortable at first, but costly later. High standards create healthy pressure. Not pressure from fear, pressure from pride. The pride of knowing you keep your word. The pride of knowing you show up prepared. This pride is stabilizing. Standards also shape relationships. People treat you according to what you allow, not what you demand. If you tolerate disrespect, it continues. If you hold respectful standards calmly, behavior adjusts. This does not require confrontation. It requires consistency. Standards communicate without explanation. Another important truth is this. Raising standards does not mean doing more. It means doing less, better. It means choosing quality over quantity, depth over distraction. This focus creates progress. Standards also evolve. A standard that once felt high may become normal. This is growth. Responsible people revisit standards regularly. They ask this: is this still aligned with who I am becoming? This keeps life intentional. It is also important to raise standards gradually. Sudden extreme changes often fail. Sustainable standards grow step by step. Raise one standard at a time. Show up on time. Finish what you start. Speak honestly. Each raised standard strengthens identity. Identity then supports higher standards. This is the upward cycle. Standards also guard against burnout. When standards are clear, you stop overcommitting. You say no more easily. You protect what matters. Burnout often comes from low standards with boundaries, not high standards with discipline. This chapter is not asking you to impress others. It is asking you to respect yourself. Standards are private commitments. They do not require announcement. They require practice. As you move forward, ask yourself simple questions. What am I currently tolerating? What does this create? What standard needs to rise? Do not judge the answer. Use it. Small changes in standards create large changes in direction. This is why standards shape your life. Not ambition, not desire. Standards. Raise them thoughtfully. Live by them consistently. And over time your life will reflect the level you chose to accept. Chapter 8. Discipline is self-respect. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many people think discipline is punishment. They think it is restriction. They think it is force. In reality, discipline is respect. It is self-respect in action. Discipline is the way you show yourself that your life matters. It is how you protect what you value. It is how you honor your intentions. Without discipline, intentions remain ideas. With discipline, ideas become results. This chapter reframes discipline, not as control, but as care. Discipline is choosing long-term benefit over short-term comfort. It is saying yes to what matters. even when it is inconvenient. This choice builds strength quietly. People often ask how to become more disciplined. The better question is this: what do I respect? You naturally protect what you respect. You invest in it. You maintain it. When you respect your time, you guard it. When you respect your health, you care for it. When you respect your future, you act for it. Discipline follows respect. Lack of discipline often comes from undervaluing oneself, not from laziness. When someone believes their actions do not matter, discipline fades. When someone believes their life is important, discipline strengthens. This is a powerful shift. Discipline is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about doing the right things consistently. Consistency builds identity. Each disciplined action sends a message: I can rely on myself. This message builds self-trust. Self-trust reduces inner conflict. Inner conflict drains energy. Discipline simplifies life. Many people experience stress because they constantly negotiate with themselves. Should I act? Should I wait? Should I skip this time? Discipline ends the debate. The decision is already made. This saves mental energy. There is a story that illustrates this well. A woman struggled with anxiety around her daily routine. She felt overwhelmed. She decided to create simple rules for herself. Wake up at the same time. Move her body daily. Plan the next day each evening. At first it felt rigid. Soon it felt calming. Her anxiety reduced. Why? Because discipline created predictability. Predictability creates safety. Discipline is not harsh. It is stabilizing. Another misunderstanding is that discipline removes freedom. The opposite is true. Discipline creates freedom by reducing chaos. When you discipline spending, you gain financial flexibility. When you discipline time, you gain space. When you discipline habits, you gain control. Undisciplined living feels free at first, but it quickly becomes limiting. Late nights steal mornings. Impulse spending steals options. Avoidance steals confidence. Discipline protects future freedom. This is why disciplined people often feel calmer. They trust their systems. They are not constantly reacting. They are responding. Discipline also strengthens boundaries. When you respect yourself, you say no more easily. You do not explain excessively. You do not apologize for protecting priorities. Boundaries supported by discipline are quiet and firm. They do not require force. They require clarity. Discipline also improves self-image, not the image presented to others, the image held internally. When you keep promises to yourself, you see yourself as dependable. This internal image affects behavior. You act in alignment with who you believe you are. This creates upward momentum. Many people try to motivate discipline through pressure. They use guilt. They use comparison. This approach fails. Pressure creates resistance. Respect creates commitment. A disciplined life is not joyless. It is deeply satisfying. Satisfaction comes from alignment, from knowing your actions reflect your values. This alignment reduces regret. Regret often comes from knowing what you should have done and not doing it. Discipline prevents this. It removes the gap between intention and action. Another important truth is this: discipline grows gradually. Trying to change everything at once overwhelms the system. Responsible discipline starts small. One habit, one routine, one promise kept daily. Small acts of discipline create confidence. Confidence supports larger commitments. This is sustainable growth. Discipline also allows rest to be restorative. When work is disciplined, rest is guilt-free. You rest because it is planned, not because you escaped responsibility. This improves recovery. Undisciplined rest often feels uneasy. Disciplined rest feels earned. This balance supports long-term performance. Discipline is also an expression of self-leadership. You lead yourself before you can lead others. Leadership requires reliability. Reliability is built through discipline. This does not mean being rigid. It means being intentional, flexible where needed, firm where required. Discipline adapts without collapsing. This chapter is not asking you to become extreme. It is asking you to become aligned. Ask yourself simple questions. What do I respect? What deserves protection? What requires discipline? Let the answers guide behavior. Discipline is not about controlling yourself. It is about caring for yourself. Choose, it is how you say this. My future matters. And each disciplined action reinforces that truth. Over time, discipline becomes less effortful. It becomes identity. You no longer force it. You live it. That is self-respect in action. That is discipline. Chapter 9. Responsibility in relationships. Every relationship reflects responsibility, not just what is said, but what is practiced. Relationships do not fail suddenly, they erode quietly, through small neglects, through avoided conversations, through unspoken expectations. This chapter is about ownership in connection. Responsibility in relationships does not mean carrying everything. It means carrying your part fully. Many people enter relationships seeking understanding, but they avoid responsibility. They want to be heard, but they do not listen. They want support, but they do not show consistency. This creates imbalance. Healthy relationships are built on mutual ownership. Ownership of words, ownership of actions, ownership of impact. Responsibility in relationships begins with a simple shift. Stop focusing on what others should do. Start focusing on how you show up. This is where growth begins. You cannot control another person's behavior, but you can control your response. You can control your communication. You can control your effort. This is power. Many conflicts persist because responsibility is avoided. People argue about facts. They defend positions. They protect pride. Few pause to ask this. What is my contribution to this tension? That question changes the tone. Responsibility softens defensiveness. It opens dialogue. This does not mean accepting mistreatment. It means refusing to add to confusion. Responsible communication is clear. It is calm. It is honest. It does not attack. It does not withdraw. It speaks from ownership. Consider a common example. A partner feels unappreciated. They become distant. The other feels confused. Silence grows. Responsibility would sound like this. I feel overlooked, and I need to talk about it. Avoidance sounds like distance. Distance rarely solves anything. Responsibility brings clarity early. Avoidance lets tension mature. Another important truth is this: expectations unspoken become resentments. Many people assume others should know how they feel, but assumption is not communication. Responsibility requires expression, not emotional outbursts. Clear statements. I need more support. I value consistency. This matters to me. These are responsible sentences. They do not blame. They inform. Responsibility also applies to listening. Listening is not waiting to respond. It is seeking to understand. When you listen responsibly, you set aside defense. You focus on meaning. This builds trust. Trust grows when people feel seen. Responsibility in relationships also includes boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are guidelines. They clarify what is acceptable. They protect respect. Without boundaries, resentment grows. With boundaries, respect stabilizes. Responsible boundaries are stated calmly and enforced consistently, not emotionally, not with threat. Consistency teaches others how to treat you. Responsibility also requires self-regulation. Strong emotions will appear in close relationships. This is normal. Responsibility means you manage expression. You feel anger, but you do not attack. You feel hurt, but you do not punish. You choose response. This choice protects connection. There is a story that illustrates this well. Two close friends drifted apart over time. Misunderstandings accumulated. Neither addressed them. Eventually, distance replaced closeness. One friend finally took responsibility. They reached out. They acknowledged their part. They expressed care without accusation. The conversation was not perfect, but it reopened connection. Responsibility restored movement. Without it, silence would have ended the relationship. Responsibility also includes repair. Mistakes will happen. Words will miss the mark. Responsible people repair quickly. They say this: "I was wrong. I see how that affected you. I will do better." These words heal faster than explanations. Repair builds trust. People do not expect perfection. They expect accountability. Another key aspect of responsibility in relationships is consistency. Grand gestures do not replace steady behavior. Trust grows through repeated alignment, not occasional intensity. Showing up, following through, being reliable. These are relational responsibilities. Many relationships weaken, not from conflict, but from inconsistency. Inconsistency creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates distance. Responsibility restores stability. Responsibility also means choosing growth over comfort. There will be moments when silence feels easier than honesty. Moments when avoidance feels safer than clarity. Responsible people choose clarity, not harshly, but respectfully. They understand that short-term discomfort prevents long-term damage. Responsibility in relationships also requires humility. You will not always see yourself clearly. Feedback matters. Responsible people receive feedback without immediate defense. They listen. They reflect. They decide what to adjust. This does not mean accepting every criticism. It means considering it. Growth requires openness. This chapter is not about taking blame for everything. It is about taking responsibility for your influence, your tone, your effort, your presence. Relationships thrive when responsibility is shared. When both people own their part, conflict becomes collaboration. When responsibility is avoided, conflict becomes combat. As you move forward, ask yourself simple questions. How am I showing up? Where do I need to take ownership? Do not ask these questions to judge. Ask them to improve connection. Responsibility is not heavy in relationships. It is stabilizing. It creates safety. It creates trust. It creates depth. When responsibility becomes a habit, relationships stop feeling fragile. They become resilient because they are built on ownership, not assumption, and that foundation holds. Chapter 10. Responsibility with time. Time is not managed. It is respected. Everyone has the same number of hours in a day. What separates people is not time. It is responsibility with time. This chapter reframes how time works. Time is not something you control. It is something you respond to. Responsible people respond intentionally. Many people say they do not have enough time. What they often mean is this: they have not decided how to use it. Time reveals priorities, not intentions. Where your time goes, your life follows. Responsibility with time begins with ownership. You choose how you start your day. You choose how you end it. You choose what receives attention. These choices feel small, but they shape direction. Time is neutral. It does not rush. It does not pause. It simply passes. Responsibility gives time meaning. Consider a common pattern. A person feels constantly busy. Their days feel full, yet progress feels minimal. Busyness is not productivity. It is movement without direction. Responsibility brings focus. When you accept responsibility with time, you stop filling hours. you start using them. Using time means aligning it with values. If health matters, time must reflect it. If growth matters, time must reflect it. If relationships matter, time must reflect them. There is no other measure. Time never lies. Many people wait for extra time to appear. It does not. Time must be claimed. Claiming time requires saying no. Every yes is a no to something else. Responsible people understand this trade. They choose deliberately. Saying no is not rejection. It is protection. Protection of energy. Protection of focus. Without boundaries, time dissolves. Distractions are not the enemy. Lack of clarity is. When you know what matters, distractions lose power. Responsibility with time also requires honesty. Be honest about how time is spent, not how you wish it was spent. This honesty is freeing. It removes self-deception. A simple practice helps. At the end of the day, ask this: what did I give my time to? Did it align with what I value? No judgment, only awareness. Awareness leads to adjustment. Adjustment leads to improvement. There is a story that illustrates this well. A professional felt overwhelmed and behind. Deadlines piled up. Stress increased. He tracked his time for 1 week. Not to criticize, to observe. He noticed long gaps of distraction, small interruptions that added up. He adjusted one habit. He protected the first hour of the day. That single change improved focus. Work quality increased. Stress reduced. Time did not change. Responsibility did. Responsibility with time also involves preparation. Prepared days feel calmer. Unprepared days feel reactive. Preparation does not require complexity. It requires intention. A simple plan reduces friction. When you decide in advance, you reduce decision fatigue. Decision fatigue wastes time. Responsible routines save it. Another important truth is this: rest is also a responsibility. Ignoring rest leads to burnout. Burnout destroys effectiveness. Responsible rest is intentional. It supports performance. Unplanned rest often becomes escape. Planned rest restores energy. Both use time. Only one strengthens you. Responsibility with time also means finishing. Starting tasks is easy. Finishing requires discipline. Unfinished tasks occupy mental space. They drain attention. Finishing clears the mind. Clear mind improves focus. This creates momentum. Time responsibility also protects future opportunities. When you invest time in skill development, future options expand. When you waste time consistently, options narrow. Time compounds. Small daily investments grow. Small daily losses accumulate. This is why time responsibility is foundational. It affects every area of life. Relationships, health, career, character. Time reflects respect. When you respect your future, you respect your time. You do not rush unnecessarily. You do not delay carelessly. You act with awareness. This chapter is not asking for perfect schedules. It is asking for conscious choices. You do not need more hours. You need clearer priorities. As you continue through this book, remember this law. Time does not respond to intention. It responds to responsibility. When you respect time, it rewards you with progress. When you neglect it, it reveals the cost. Responsibility with time is not pressure. It is alignment. And alignment turns hours into progress. Chapter 11. Responsibility with money. Money responds to behavior, not hope, not intention. Behavior. This is why responsibility with money matters. Many people believe money problems are caused by income alone. Sometimes income is a factor, but behavior is always involved. Money reveals habits. It reflects decisions made repeatedly over time. This chapter is not about getting rich quickly. It is about becoming stable, clear, and in control. Responsibility with money begins with ownership, not ownership of wealth, ownership of choices. You are responsible for how money is earned, how it is spent, how it is saved, and how it is ignored. Ignoring money is still a decision. Many people avoid looking closely at their finances. They feel stress, they feel shame, they feel confusion. Avoidance feels easier than clarity, but avoidance always increases cost. Money issues rarely improve without attention. They usually grow quietly. Responsibility brings visibility. When you know where money goes, control returns. This does not require perfection. It requires honesty. Honesty removes fear. Fear often comes from the unknown. Clarity replaces it with direction. Responsible money behavior starts small. Track what you spend, not to judge, to understand. Understanding precedes improvement. Many people say they do not earn enough. That may be true, but spending habits still matter. Responsibility asks this: what am I doing with what I have? This question empowers. It shifts focus from limitation to management. Money grows where attention flows. Consider a common situation. A person earns more than before. They expect relief, but stress remains. Why? Because spending rose with income. Without responsibility, more money does not create peace. It often increases pressure. Responsibility creates margin. Margin is the space between income and expense. Margin reduces anxiety. Margin creates options. Options create confidence. Responsibility with money also involves restraint. Restraint is not deprivation. It is choice. Choosing not to spend is still power. Impulse spending feels good briefly. Then it fades. Responsible spending feels calm. It lasts. This is because it aligns with values. When spending reflects values, regret decreases. Regret often comes from spending to impress, or spending to escape. Responsible spending is intentional. Another important truth is this: debt is not only financial, it is emotional. Debt creates pressure. Pressure reduces freedom. Responsibility with money considers long-term impact. This does not mean never using credit. It means using it consciously. Responsible people ask this: will this decision improve my future or restrict it? This question prevents many problems. There is a story that illustrates this well. A young professional earned well but felt trapped. Bills consumed income. Stress was constant. He decided to face the numbers. Not all at once. Step by step. He listed expenses. He identified habits. He adjusted gradually. No dramatic changes, just consistent ones. Within months, pressure eased. Within a year, savings appeared. Nothing magical happened. Responsibility did. Responsibility with money also includes preparation. Emergencies are not rare. They are predictable. Preparing for them reduces panic. Savings create safety. Safety allows calm decision-making. Calm decisions improve outcomes. Responsibility with money is also about patience. Quick gains are tempting. They promise relief, but impatience often leads to loss. Responsible money behavior respects time. It allows growth to compound. Small savings accumulate. Small investments grow. Small improvements add up. This compounding effect rewards consistency. Responsibility also affects earning potential. People who manage money responsibly often manage work responsibly. They show up prepared. They deliver value. They earn trust. Trust increases opportunity. Opportunity increases income. Money behavior and work behavior are connected. Responsibility strengthens both. Another key aspect is alignment. Money should support life, not control it. When spending is aligned with priorities, money becomes a tool. When spending is reactive, money becomes a stressor. Alignment requires clarity. What matters most? What can wait? What is unnecessary? These decisions simplify life. Responsible money habits also build self-respect. Each wise decision reinforces confidence. You begin to trust your judgment. This trust reduces anxiety. Anxiety often comes from feeling out of control. Responsibility restores control. This chapter is not about strict budgets or rigid rules. It is about awareness and intention. You do not need complexity. You need consistency. Spend less than you earn. Save something regularly. Avoid impulsive decisions. These principles are simple, but they are powerful. Many people know them. Few practice them. Practice creates results. Responsibility with money does not eliminate challenges. It prepares you to face them. It reduces surprise. It increases resilience. As you move forward, ask yourself simple questions. Where does my money go? Does this reflect my values? What small change would improve clarity? Do not rush the answers. Apply them steadily. Money will always respond to behavior. When behavior is responsible, money becomes supportive instead of stressful. Responsibility with money is not restriction. It is freedom in preparation. And that freedom grows with every wise choice you make. Chapter 12. Responsibility during failure. Failure is not the end of the road. It is a point on the road. How you respond to failure determines what happens next. This chapter is about responsibility when things do not work, when effort does not produce the result you expected. When plans fall short, failure is uncomfortable. It challenges identity. It tests character. Many people avoid responsibility during failure. They protect ego. They search for reasons. They shift blame. This reaction is natural, but it delays growth. Responsibility during failure does not mean self-punishment. It means honest evaluation. Failure is information. It tells you what did not work. It reveals gaps. It highlights misalignment. When treated correctly, failure becomes instruction. When avoided, it becomes repetition. Responsible people do not collapse during failure. They pause. They assess. They adjust. This is the difference. Failure only becomes permanent when responsibility is avoided. Consider a common example. A person launches a project. They invest time and energy. The response is weak. Disappointment follows. An irresponsible response sounds like this. People did not understand. The timing was wrong. It was bad luck. A responsible response sounds like this. What can I improve? What did I miss? What needs adjustment? The outcome is the same. The direction is different. Responsibility keeps failure from defining identity. Failure is an event, not a verdict. When people identify with failure, confidence erodes. When people learn from failure, capability increases. This distinction matters. Responsibility creates separation between who you are and what happened. You are not your failure. You are the person responding to it. That response shapes your future. Another important truth is this. Failure often exposes effort gaps, not ability gaps. Many people assume failure means lack of talent. More often it reflects inconsistency or misdirected effort. Responsibility helps you see this clearly. It asks practical questions. Did I prepare enough? Did I practice consistently? Did I adjust when feedback appeared? These questions lead to improvement. Avoidance leads to stagnation. There is a story that illustrates this well. An athlete trained hard for a competition. Confidence was high. The result was disappointing. Initial reaction was frustration. Self-doubt followed. Then responsibility entered. The athlete reviewed performance calmly, not emotionally, not defensively. They noticed small technical errors. They noticed poor recovery habits. Training was adjusted. The next competition improved. Failure did not disappear, but it taught. Responsibility transformed disappointment into direction. Failure also tests emotional discipline. Strong emotions will surface. Embarrassment, anger, regret. Responsible people allow emotion, but they do not let it lead. Emotion is acknowledged. Then analysis begins. This prevents impulsive decisions. Many poor decisions follow emotional failure. Quitting too early, overcorrecting, abandoning direction. Responsibility slows the process. It creates space between feeling and action. That space protects progress. Another cost of avoiding responsibility during failure is repeated patterns. When lessons are ignored, mistakes repeat. The situation may change. The result stays the same. This creates frustration. Responsibility breaks patterns. It identifies the common thread. Often that thread is behavior. Failure also reveals resilience. Resilience is not built through success alone. It is built through recovery. Each responsible recovery strengthens confidence. You learn that failure is survivable. You learn that progress continues. This reduces fear. Fear of failure often limits effort. Responsibility reduces that fear. You trust yourself to respond well. This trust increases courage. Responsibility during failure also includes patience. Some failures require time to understand. Not all lessons are immediate. Responsible people reflect without rushing conclusions. They avoid extreme judgments. One failure does not mean something is impossible. It means something needs adjustment. This balanced thinking preserves momentum. Failure can also clarify values. Sometimes failure reveals misalignment. You pursued something because it looked right, not because it felt right. Responsibility allows re-evaluation. It asks this: is this path aligned with who I am becoming? If the answer is no, failure becomes redirection. This is not loss. It is refinement. Another key aspect is humility. Failure humbles. Responsibility uses humility. Productively, you become open to learning, open to feedback, open to change. This openness accelerates growth. Defensiveness slows it. Responsible people thank failure for its message, even if it arrived painfully. This mindset creates strength. This chapter is not asking you to enjoy failure. It is asking you to use it. Failure is unavoidable. In growth, avoiding it avoids progress. Responsibility ensures failure, serves you. A practical approach helps. When failure occurs, ask 3 questions. What happened? Why did it happen? What will I change? Keep answers specific. Keep them honest. Do not add blame. Do not add drama. Just direction. Then act. Action completes the lesson. Reflection without action is incomplete. Action transforms failure into experience. Experience builds competence. Competence builds confidence. This is the upward path. As you move forward, remember this law. Failure does not remove responsibility. It demands it. The way you respond to failure matters more than the failure itself. When responsibility guides response, failure loses its power to define you. It becomes a teacher. And when lessons are learned, failure becomes part of your progress. Chapter 13. Responsibility without recognition. Most responsibility happens quietly, without applause, without acknowledgement. This chapter is about doing what is right, even when no one is watching. Many people work hard when attention is present. They perform when praise is likely. They give effort when recognition is guaranteed. But character is revealed elsewhere. It is revealed in private choices, in unseen discipline, in consistency without reward. Responsibility without recognition is a test of integrity. Integrity is alignment between values and behavior, not when it is convenient, but when it is invisible. This is where growth becomes real. Recognition feels good. It validates effort. It confirms progress. But recognition is unreliable. Sometimes it comes late. Sometimes it never comes. If responsibility depends on recognition, effort becomes conditional. Conditional effort creates inconsistency. Inconsistency weakens results. Responsible people detach effort from applause. They act because it is right, not because it is noticed. This builds internal stability. Consider a simple example. Two employees complete the same task. One does it carefully every time. The other does it well only when supervised. At first, results look similar. Over time, trust grows with one and erodes with the other. Why? Because responsibility was practiced differently. Responsibility without recognition builds reliability. Reliability creates opportunity. Opportunity often brings recognition later, but that is not the goal. The goal is integrity. Integrity creates self-respect. Self-respect is deeper than praise. Praise fades. Self-respect remains. Many people underestimate the power of unseen effort, but unseen effort shapes identity. Each time you do the right thing without being seen, you reinforce who you believe you are. You tell yourself this: I act with principle. This message strengthens confidence. Confidence built this way is stable. It does not depend on approval. Approval-based confidence is fragile. Remove the audience and motivation disappears. Principle-based confidence endures. Responsibility without recognition also protects humility. Praise can inflate ego. Ego can distort judgment. Quiet responsibility keeps focus on standards, not status. Status shifts. Standards anchor. Another important truth is this: recognition often follows value, not effort alone. Effort without consistency rarely creates value. Consistency without recognition creates value. Over time, time reveals patterns. Those patterns are noticed eventually, but again, that is secondary. The primary reward of responsibility is internal alignment. There is a story that illustrates this well. A craftsman worked with care for decades. Most people never noticed the detail. Few commented on the quality. He continued anyway. Over time, his reputation grew. People trusted his work. Opportunities arrived. But even if they had not, his pride remained. Because his work met his standard. Responsibility without recognition also builds patience. You learn to delay reward. Delayed reward strengthens discipline. Discipline supports long-term goals. Many worthwhile outcomes require this patience. Relationships, skill mastery, leadership. Leadership especially demands unseen responsibility. True leaders lead when no one is watching. They prepare when no one asks. They act when it is uncomfortable. They take responsibility without claiming credit. This earns trust. Trust is not demanded. It is accumulated. Another challenge of unrecognized responsibility is discouragement. You may wonder if effort matters, if it makes a difference. This is where clarity matters. You are not responsible for recognition. You are responsible for conduct. Control what you can control. Your actions, your standards, your consistency. When focus shifts to what you control, frustration decreases, peace increases. Responsibility without recognition also guards against resentment. Resentment grows when effort is given with expectation attached. Expectation unfulfilled creates bitterness. Responsible effort is given freely, not passively, but intentionally. You choose to act, not to trade action for praise. This choice prevents emotional debt. Emotional debt poisons motivation. Responsible people keep their accounts clean. They do not perform to collect validation. They perform to honor principle. This chapter is not asking you to ignore feedback. Feedback is valuable. It is asking you not to depend on it. Let feedback inform, not define. Another important aspect is resilience. When recognition is absent, many people quit. Those who continue develop strength. They learn endurance. Endurance separates those who start from those who finish. Finishing often happens out of sight. The final steps are rarely glamorous, but they matter most. Responsibility without recognition is also preparation. When opportunity arrives, you are ready, because preparation happened quietly. Those who wait for recognition before preparing are rarely prepared when recognition comes. This is a hard truth. Preparation precedes opportunity, not the other way around. This chapter invites a simple commitment. Do the right thing consistently, whether or not it is noticed. Finish what you start. Honor your word. Maintain standards, not for praise, for integrity. Integrity is its own reward. It creates inner calm. It creates confidence. It creates direction. As you move forward, ask yourself simple questions. Would I still do this if no one knew? Would I still act this way if there were no reward? If the answer is yes, you are practicing true responsibility. Responsibility without recognition builds the strongest foundation. It creates character that does not depend on circumstance, and character, more than recognition, determines the quality of your life. Chapter 14. The Leader Within. Leadership is often misunderstood. Many people believe leadership begins with authority, with titles, with influence over others. The truth is simpler. Leadership begins within. Before you can lead anyone else, you must lead yourself. This chapter is about internal leadership, the quiet kind, the kind that shapes behavior when no one is directing you. Self-leadership is responsibility in motion. It is the ability to guide your actions, your decisions, and your standards. Without self-leadership, external leadership fails. You cannot guide others where you will not go yourself. The leader within shows up in small moments, when you choose discipline over impulse, when you choose honesty over comfort, when you choose preparation over excuse. These choices build authority, not authority over others, authority over self. Self-authority creates stability. Many people wait for leadership roles to appear before they begin acting like leaders. This is backwards. Leadership roles are given to those who already lead themselves. They manage time responsibly. They communicate clearly. They follow through. These traits are noticed. Leadership begins with personal standards. A leader sets expectations for self before setting them for others. This creates credibility. People trust those who live what they speak. Credibility is the foundation of influence. Without it, words carry little weight. Consider a simple example. Two people give advice. One lives by it. The other does not. Both may speak well. Only one is followed. Leadership is not about speaking. It is about alignment. Alignment between values and action. The leader within also manages emotion. Strong emotions appear in challenging moments. Stress, anger, fear. Leadership does not eliminate emotion. It directs it. A self-led person feels emotion fully and responds thoughtfully. They do not react impulsively. They pause. They choose. This choice protects decision quality. Many problems escalate because emotion leads. Self-leadership keeps emotion in check without suppression. This balance creates respect. Another important aspect of self-leadership is initiative. Leaders do not wait to be told what to do when something matters. They observe. They assess. They act. Initiative is responsibility applied. It does not require permission. It requires awareness. This is why leadership often emerges in crisis. Those who take responsibility step forward. Those who wait for instruction hesitate. Leadership fills the gap. Self-leadership also includes accountability. Leaders hold themselves accountable before holding others accountable. They review performance honestly. They admit mistakes. They correct course. This builds trust. People respect leaders who own errors more than those who deny them. Ownership strengthens credibility. There is a story that illustrates this well. A team faced repeated setbacks. Morale declined. The leader did not blame the team. They examined their own guidance. They adjusted communication. They clarified expectations. They supported development. Performance improved. Leadership began with self-correction. This principle applies everywhere, in families, in work, in communities. Leadership is influence. Influence grows from consistency. Consistency grows from self-leadership. The leader within also practices service. True leadership is not control, it is contribution. Self-led people ask this: how can I add value here? They look for ways to support progress. This mindset shifts focus from ego to outcome. Ego seeks recognition, leadership seeks results. This distinction matters. Another important truth is this: leadership is developed, not discovered. You become a leader through practice, through repetition, through responsibility. Each time you lead yourself well, leadership strengthens. Each time you avoid responsibility, leadership weakens. This is why leadership feels natural to some. They have practiced it privately. The leader within also values preparation. Preparation reduces uncertainty. It increases confidence. Leaders prepare before acting, not to control outcomes, but to improve response. Preparation demonstrates respect. Respect for the task, respect for others, respect for self. Leadership without preparation relies on luck. Luck is unreliable. Responsibility is dependable. This chapter is not suggesting that everyone must lead large groups. Leadership appears at every level. You lead when you influence direction, when you model behavior, when you set standards. Even small acts of leadership matter. Children learn from example. Teams mirror behavior. Communities follow consistency. Leadership radiates outward. It begins quietly. Self-leadership also requires courage. Courage to decide. Courage to speak. Courage to stand by principles. Courage grows through responsibility. Each responsible action strengthens courage. This creates momentum. Leadership momentum attracts opportunity. Opportunity expands influence. But influence remains grounded only when self-leadership remains strong. This chapter invites reflection. How do you lead yourself daily? Where do you avoid responsibility? What standard needs reinforcement? These questions are not about judgment. They are about growth. The leader within does not wait for permission. It responds to responsibility. It shows up consistently. It acts with integrity. It guides with example. Leadership is not a title you receive. It is a practice you live. And when you lead yourself well, others naturally follow. Chapter 15. Responsibility as a daily practice. Responsibility is not a moment. It is a practice. It is not something you step into once and then move on from. It is something you return to every day. This chapter notes a simple truth. Responsibility works best when it becomes routine. Big decisions matter, but daily behavior shapes life. What you do consistently matters more than what you do occasionally. Responsibility as a daily practice means this: you show up with intention each day. You guide your actions instead of drifting through them. This does not require perfection. It requires presence. Many people approach responsibility in bursts. They become focused for a short time. Then attention fades. This pattern creates uneven progress. Daily practice creates stability. Small actions repeated daily build stronger results than rare intense effort. This is how habits form. Habits are the structure of life. Responsibility becomes powerful when it is built into routine. Think of brushing your teeth. You do not debate it. You do not wait for motivation. You simply do it. Responsibility works best the same way. When responsible actions become automatic, discipline feels lighter. Daily responsibility begins with simple awareness. How you start your day matters. How you end it matters. A responsible day does not require a long checklist. It requires a few clear priorities. Choose what deserves attention, then give it attention. This creates focus. Focus reduces overwhelm. Overwhelm often comes from trying to hold too many responsibilities at once. Responsible people simplify. They ask this: what matters most today? Then they act on it. There is a story that illustrates this well. A busy professional felt constantly behind. Tasks accumulated. Stress increased. They decided to change one thing. Each morning they chose one meaningful task. They completed it before distractions took over. This small practice changed everything. Progress became visible. Confidence grew. Days felt purposeful. Responsibility did not increase workload. It improved direction. Daily responsibility also includes review. At the end of the day, reflection matters. Not to criticize, to learn. Ask simple questions. What did I handle well? What did I avoid? What can I adjust tomorrow? These questions take minutes, but they create improvement. Improvement comes from awareness. Awareness comes from reflection. Daily reflection prevents drift. Another important aspect of daily responsibility is honoring small commitments. Many people break promises to themselves easily. They excuse it. They minimize it. Over time, self-trust erodes. Daily responsibility rebuilds the trust. Start with small promises, then keep them. Wake up on time. Finish a short task. Prepare for tomorrow. Each completed promise reinforces reliability. Reliability becomes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. This identity supports larger goals. Responsibility as a daily practice also requires flexibility. Not every day will go as planned. Unexpected demands appear. Energy fluctuates. Responsibility does not demand rigid control. It demands adaptive response. When plans change, responsible people adjust calmly. They do not abandon the day. They redirect effort. This flexibility preserves momentum. Another daily practice is managing attention. Attention is limited. Where you place it determines outcomes. Responsible attention avoids constant distraction. This does not mean isolation. It means intention. Choose when to connect. Choose when to focus. Unmanaged attention fragments. Managed attention creates depth. Depth produces quality. Quality produces pride. Responsibility also shows up in how you speak to yourself. Daily internal dialogue matters. Responsible self-talk is honest and constructive. It avoids extremes. It avoids harsh judgment. It avoids false comfort. It sounds like this: "This was not my best effort. I can improve tomorrow." This language supports growth. Harsh self-criticism drains energy. Avoidance language delays action. Responsible language guides behavior. Daily responsibility also includes physical care. Energy affects decision quality, sleep, movement, nutrition. These are not optional. Neglecting the body weakens responsibility. Caring for the body supports it. This does not require extremes. It requires consistency. Another important daily practice is choosing response over reaction. Daily life presents frustration, delays, disappointment. Responsible people pause before reacting. They choose response. This pause may be brief, but it protects judgment. Good judgment improves outcomes. This habit compounds over time. Responsibility as a daily practice also means finishing the day intentionally. Closing the day matters. Prepare for tomorrow. Set one clear intention. Release what cannot be changed. This creates mental rest. Rest supports performance. Performance supports confidence. Confidence supports responsibility. This is the cycle. This chapter is not asking for dramatic change. It is asking for steady practice. Responsibility does not demand intensity. It demands consistency. One responsible choice today is better than 10 planned choices tomorrow. Daily responsibility builds momentum quietly. Momentum reduces resistance. Resistance often stops progress before it starts. When responsibility becomes routine, progress becomes natural. You stop forcing improvement. You live it. As you continue through this book, remember this principle. Responsibility is not a single decision. It is a daily practice. Each day offers an opportunity to choose ownership. Choose it in small ways. Choose it consistently. Over time, these daily choices shape character, and character shapes destiny. Chapter 16. The Final Law. All laws in this book lead to one truth. Responsibility determines direction. This is the final law, not because it is the end, but because it unites everything that came before it. Personal responsibility is not a concept. It is a way of living. It is the lens through which choices are made, the standard by which actions are measured, the anchor that keeps life intentional. Every chapter in this book points here. Responsibility is the source of clarity. It is the root of discipline. It is the foundation of freedom. Without responsibility, effort scatters. With responsibility, effort aligns. This final law is simple, but it is not easy. You become responsible not once, but repeatedly. Responsibility must be chosen again and again, in small moments, in quiet decisions, in private behavior. This is where lives are shaped. Many people ask for certainty. They want guarantees. Responsibility offers something better. It offers control over response. You may not control outcomes. You may not control timing. You may not control others, but you always control how you show up. That control is enough. When responsibility becomes your foundation, fear loses its grip. Fear thrives in uncertainty. Responsibility creates stability. You trust yourself to respond well, even when conditions are unclear. This trust is powerful. It allows you to move forward without perfect confidence. Confidence is built through action. Responsibility produces action. This is the loop. Responsibility also brings peace. Peace does not come from having no problems. It comes from knowing you are addressing what matters. Avoidance creates anxiety. Responsibility creates calm. Even when challenges remain, your mind is steady. Because you know this, you are doing your part. This final law also speaks to identity. You become what you repeatedly practice. If you practice avoidance, you become hesitant. If you practice blame, you become reactive. If you practice responsibility, you become reliable. Reliability shapes reputation. Reputation shapes opportunity. Opportunity shapes direction. Responsibility is not heavy. It is grounding. It gives weight to your actions, meaning to your choices. It replaces chaos with order. Order does not mean control over everything. It means control over what belongs to you, your effort, your preparation, your standards. This is enough to build a meaningful life. The final law also reminds you of this truth. No one is coming to rescue you, and that is not a threat. It is an invitation to step forward, to claim authorship, to live deliberately. When you accept full responsibility, you stop waiting. Waiting drains life. Responsibility activates it. This does not mean you walk alone. It means you walk intentionally. You accept support without surrendering ownership. You learn without giving up authority over your life. This balance creates maturity. Responsibility matures character. Character sustains success. Success without character collapses. Success built on responsibility endures. This is why responsibility outlasts motivation. It outlasts circumstances. It outlasts emotion. It remains. As you finish this book, nothing new is being asked of you. You already know what responsibility looks like in your own life. You know what you have been avoiding. You know where standards need to rise. You know what action has been delayed. This awareness is not meant to create guilt. It is meant to create movement. Begin where you are. Choose one responsible action, then another. Do not rush. Do not wait. Progress responds to consistency. The final law is not dramatic. It is dependable. Responsibility determines the quality of your decisions, the strength of your character, the direction of your future. When responsibility becomes your default, life stops feeling random. It becomes intentional. You stop asking what will happen. You start deciding what you will do. And that decision made daily, quietly, consistently, is what shapes a life well lived. This is the final law, and it is always active. Conclusion: Living the Laws. This book was never about theory. It was about practice. Personal responsibility is not an idea to admire. It is a principle to live. Every chapter returned to the same foundation. Your life responds to what you choose to own, not perfectly, not instantly, but consistently. Responsibility is not about control over everything. It is about control over what belongs to you. Your effort, your attitude, your standards, your response. When you take responsibility, life becomes clearer, decisions become simpler, progress becomes possible. You stop waiting for permission. You stop blaming conditions. You stop outsourcing your future. Instead, you act. Responsibility does not remove difficulty. It removes confusion. It replaces excuses with direction. It replaces hope with action. It replaces drift with purpose. This is why responsibility is powerful, not because it is loud, but because it is reliable. As you move forward, you do not need to remember every chapter. You only need to remember this. Ask yourself one honest question. What is my responsibility here? That question works in every situation, in success, in failure, in conflict, in uncertainty. It will guide you when motivation fades. It will ground you when emotion rises. It will steady you when life feels unpredictable. Responsibility is not heavy when carried daily. It only becomes heavy when avoided. When practiced consistently, it creates freedom, confidence, and calm. You do not need to change everything at once. You never did. Change begins with one owned action, then another, then another. Small responsible choices compound. They build character. Character builds trust. Trust builds opportunity. This is how lives are shaped. Not through dramatic moments, but through quiet decisions repeated over time. If you take one thing from this book, let it be this: you are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not waiting. You are choosing. And when you choose responsibility, you choose direction. Carry that forward. Live these laws. Practice them daily. Return to them often. Because responsibility is not just how progress begins, it is how it continues.